All right, welcome to the Tomcast. Tom Laporte, and today I'm here with Sandra, and we'll be talking about her pilgrimage walk on the Santiago Camino. Hey, Sandra, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks.
So tell me, when did you guys go on the walk?
We went April the 19th, 2016. 2015.
2015. Okay, great. And so when you guys started, did you have a sort of end date how long you intended to walk?
We had intended to take 30 days
Okay.
and walk 400 miles, but we only ended up walking for about 7 or 8 days, and we only did 100 miles.
Okay. All right, so you were saying we also, just for clarity, who walked with you?
My husband and I. We had actually seen the movie called The Way
Yes, it's a great film.
in 2014.
Okay.
And we both looked at each other and thought, wow, that would be cool to do if something, ever happened or just for fun. Put it on our bucket list. Well, fast forward in 2015, my husband and I were international teachers in Iraq, and we had to be evacuated out. So we were devastated, and we didn't know what to do. So we both remembered the movie, and we thought, okay, let's go walk and seek God and find out, what does he want from us?
Okay, so this was a pretty intense, unplanned evacuation.
Yes, very, very intense. Live or die type situation.
Okay, and then you're in this moment
Yeah.
of having something sort of incredibly unsettling happening in your life. And then how is it that it gets into your head, oh yeah, that film that we saw? How did you guys make the connection to decide maybe you'd go on the walk?
I just remember watching the movie feeling like it was something to soothe the soul. It was something to walk and just pray and seek God and just quiet. And at the same time, good exercise. So,
Okay.
But yeah, it was, and I just remember some of the stories in that movie, and I thought, what an amazing thing and what perfect timing.
Okay. And then some of the things that sounds like you're in need of at the moment. So with that said, and it feels like a little bit of urgency, how did you how did you do your arrangements in that sort of setting?
We actually, we flew to London, and then from London we hung out for just a little while, and we ended up taking a train to Paris, and then from Paris we flew in to Madrid.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, we made no arrangements, none whatsoever.
Okay.
I downloaded an El Camino book onto my computer
All right.
and told me, I didn't even know that the hostels were called alberguinas, I believe
Yes.
that's how you say it. Didn't know we were even pilgrims. I had forgotten some of that from the movie because of the stress we were under. But I just remember the movie, everyone was welcome everywhere. So, like all the hostels, you would be welcome. So I was like, it's okay, honey. My husband's like, are you sure? I was like, oh, yeah, we can just go. And we actually, in London, bought shoes, socks, backpack, plenty of clothes, water bottles, snacks, and off we went.
So like maybe 3 days of clothes, 5 days of clothes.
Oh, goodness. We had at least 7 days
Say
of clothes.
7 days of clothes.
In
your
big
backpack. Okay.
backpack.
Okay.
And so it was amazing. You didn't have to. I mean, one of the things I remember is that you just showed up, and it was a hostel. I mean, you just had rooms, and it was just amazing. And didn't know, some had good stars, some didn't, some had good reviews, but I just wanted to go with the flow.
Okay. And then when you're shopping, I think you said in London, did you have like any kind of checklist you'd found from other? Okay.
I had not one. We knew we needed good shoes, so we bought some good shoes and
Okay.
good socks, and oh, Lordy, we would so do it different now.
I was going to say, is there any one thing you wished you'd have picked up while you were getting?
Blister pads.
Okay.
Yeah, blister pads. We didn't even know how many miles a day we were going to walk. We were just going to walk because we had really all the time to do it. And so we just
So
started walking.
as you were going, so that's something I wanted to ask about how many miles you did. Did you ever sort of get into a flow of today we're going to do 8 miles, or did it always kind of just you ended when you ended?
We really ended when we ended. We went into Burgos, okay? So we ended up taking a bus from Madrid to Burgos.
Okay.
Burgos has the most amazing churches. Oh my goodness, it's just mind blowing there. So you go and you check into this. Really, I mean, the hotels were, it was $59 a night for this one hotel. This was actually a hotel that where we stayed in Burgos to start.
Okay.
And it was a 5-star hotel. It was right across from this big cathedral in Burgos. I mean, you know it. You couldn't miss it. So you go there and you get your passport. So you show them your passport and you get this huge fold out of a passport. And so what happens is every little town that you go to, whichever albergue that you stay, they stamp it. And you feel like you just won $1 million when you get your first stamp. And so the first day we started, you look at a little map and you go, I think we can walk this far for sure. But if we really feel good, let's go on to another one. And so it was anywhere from 10 to 13 miles a day.
Okay. Did you ever get pushed forward because perhaps the hostel or whatever was full and you had to go to the next town?
None, none whatsoever. And the first place that we stayed, I was so excited. I was so physically exhausted. But I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to see, why are you here? I wanted to see, I needed just an outlet because I was still so stressed. And so I met people whose mom had died, and they were just needing a break from life. One young man was only 20 years old, and he wanted to know if God existed. And so what he was doing is he was latching on to different families. He would ask you, what religion are you? And if you were a Christian, he would latch on to you for a day, an hour or two, just to talk to you, to find out.
About your tradition and your faith
Yeah.
work. Okay.
Met people that just had watched the movie and wanted to do it. Some who had been laid off. Some who, a spouse had died.
Okay.
So many different reasons why people were doing it, but we were all searching for something.
Okay. So Sandra, you said like the first place you really wanted to connect with the other people. When you arrived there, was there like a community room, a lobby? Did you go to like dinner? How did you connect with some of these people?
The first place we went to was each hostel has like a community area that you could sleep in. It was bunk bed after bunk bed after bunk bed, and everybody, male and females, all slept in the same room. That was normally about $5 a night per person, included dinner. I think dinner you might have to add $2 to it or something like that, but breakfast was included. Or if you wanted your own little private room, sometimes it would cost you $10 each a night. I'm like, oh, I can handle that. The meals were, everyone sat down together. Breakfast, everyone sat down together. And I'm talking people from around the world came to do this. And so we stayed in lots of different hostels, and some of them, they were churches that had been converted, were just amazing history. Other ones were still churches, and this is how they made extra money.
Okay.
So one of them we went to, and the sisters, the nuns, were the ones that checked us in and showed us where to sleep. And that one was probably the most interesting. So I had come from a country where we were teaching in Iraq, where women were covered and men and women were separated. And in this one room were probably 50 beds, and all men getting dressed, taking the clothes off, didn't matter. I was like, oh my gosh.
Totally different experience.
Oh yes, and so they just didn't care.
And how long had you been in your other place?
3 years.
Oh yeah. So you really had some cultural context that just got exploded in that moment.
Yeah. There was another hostel that we went to that was just amazing, but there again, showers. right next to each other, men and women. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so when you have a lot of human beings together and you're sharing space, were people like the bathrooms, were people being polite and considerate, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was so awesome. No one was mean, no one was rude. Everyone that worked in the hostels were just amazing. I mean, I can't tell you enough good things about the El Camino.
When you were saying a moment ago, sort of the early experience, there are people from all over the world. How do people sort of negotiate languages, like finding someone that speaks French or Spanish or English or what have you?
It was amazing that everyone helped everyone out. I mean, if someone knew a little bit of Spanish, or if you had a book, because I downloaded the app onto my iPad
There's
that
a
could
Camino app?
translate.
Okay. Oh,
Well,
no,
you could translate
okay.
Spanish to English. I
Okay.
could say something in English and it would translate it into Spanish.
Okay.
That helped me because it also tells you that most of these little towns that you're going to go to, people do not speak English.
Okay.
But universal love, let me tell you, so many people that were so excited, they would just hug you. You didn't know these people from Adam. And they just hugged you, and I'm like, oh, and it was just amazing. It was,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, you broke that barrier. And, one of the things for me was, what am I supposed to learn here? What am I supposed to be getting out of this walk? I remember there were days that my husband and I would walk 10 plus miles and never say a word to each other. All we would do is just pray and just think about what had happened, where we were supposed to go, what was our next step. And it was just amazing. Like one time we were on a walk and I heard a cuckoo bird for the first time in my life, a real one. For a whole hour on my walk, I could just hear the cuckoo birds in the background. And, and as I was walking, you have little signs, the seashell. Mm-hmm. And they're little columns, little yellow arrows in the seashells. And you know that you're going the right way. So you really didn't have to think if you were on the right path or not.
Okay.
So that was amazing. The other thing is, we came, as you asked me earlier, how many days of clothes did I have?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I got blisters, honey, in places I never thought I could get blisters. And just my feet were swollen. It was hard. So one of the things that I learned is, what do I need? Not what do I want, what do I need? Do I need 7 pair of jeans that are weighing me down? Nope, don't. How many do I need? I need 2. One to wear, and then I can wash. And, I mean, you're allowed to wash there, and it didn't cost anything. So I just started shedding. And it was as if I was just shedding the baggage that I brought into this walk. And so as I was walking, my husband and I both, we were giving clothes away. We were getting rid of snacks. We were like, we can buy that when we get there. So I think for me, I realized what I could really live without.
Okay. So there's some sort of powerful bit there in simplicity. I'm hearing both the symbolism and the substance of letting things go, giving
Absolutely.
things away. And go back a moment. You're talking about you and your husband walking together and then in silence. For some people that can be such a troubling sort of event to be with your partner and then not be in communication. But then also, I think that could be a moment of real sort of connectedness.
I think it was very powerful. I probably, for me, some people may say, what? At the end of the day, I would love to hear what he felt like the Lord was telling him. What did God lay on your heart? And what did God lay on my heart? And it was just the most incredible feeling in the world going, what? I didn't talk to you all day. How did you know about that? So our prayer life was just amazing, So to me, that was more powerful than sitting and talking.
So did you guys reflect like at the end of each day? And then and then the prayer, I clearly am hearing that you were doing your sort of individual prayer along the way. In the mornings, evening, or any part of the day, did the two of you kind of have sort of a corporate prayer?
We always do our morning daily devotion together.
Okay.
That didn't stop on the trail, or even when we were in Iraq, it didn't stop either.
Okay, so that's
yeah.
a normal part
Yeah, that's
of
normal.
life for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay. And the cuckoo bird, so that's a sound that resonates with you for this important, not only the walk, but the experience, time with your loved one. Any other sights or sounds that you sort of really connect to the Camino?
That everyone could tell that we were pilgrims, by the sticks that we had, because you always had walking sticks. It was really cool. Everyone was like, hey, hey. I just remember that, just always hearing someone say hi. I remember the seashells, of course, and the little arrows and the little rocks that were left on top of, the little pillars that they had. And then just the wonderful silence that you would have on the walk. And sometimes you could just hear the people's feet shuffling behind you and coming up on you. Or you heard bikes. You would often hear bikes. And you could hear, I did this because I heard someone else do this. I remember we were on part of the walk. And I remember I felt so good. It was maybe the third or fourth morning, and we came around this corner, and I looked, and I was just deflated. My husband's like, what's the matter? I was like, look at that hill. Look at what we have got to walk. And he goes, one step at a time, honey. I was like, he says, remember, you can't take it all at once, but if we do it one step at a time, then we can do this. I'm like, okay. And so as I was walking, I heard this, yeah, you could just hear it echoing. And I'm thinking, somebody made it up to that mountain. They felt the same way I did. Okay, God, I could do this one step at a time. And so I remember doing that.
I was going to ask.
Oh, gosh, yes. I was like, yeah. And then I just clapped. I was like, oh, my gosh. It was so amazing. Even I remember the first 13 miles we did. It was just amazing. But I took away from that God's telling me, you don't have to do it all at once. One step at a time, and I'm right behind you. One step at a time, and I'm right behind you. So that was really important to me, too.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Along the way, you said a couple times, you said some of the places, even $5, you got some food. What type of?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my gosh. My friend Allie would just shoot me if she knew. It's called, I think, paella or...
Paella?
Paella.
Okay.
It's the huge, it looks like rice.
Ah, yes, paella. Okay.
Yeah, with the shrimp. And
Yes.
oh, my goodness. We had that, but it was always cooked homemade. Of course, all these little places were just little places. And then, the bread, everything was homemade, and just the meats. Honestly, sometimes I think they must have had gone out and killed the goat that day to serve us. I mean, that's how fresh. One place we stayed had an underground winery, and so the wine was the best wine I've ever tasted, and it was actually cheaper than water. I'm serious. It was like, what? And so, but yeah, and the coolest part, we were at one place, and we met. I can still see the rainbows. Oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. And those were one of those days that God just gave me that blessing. And we were sitting underneath the awnings. It was just a beautiful place, and we had walked all day. And next to us were the Wilburs. They were from California. And so we just kind of, everybody just talks. Everybody goes, where are you from? What you doing this for? Blah, blah, blah. And so we laughed until we had dinner. We laughed till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and just really hit it off with them. And we walked until we stopped walking with them. But it was just amazing how you get to know each other on, 10 to 13 miles and how they open up and tell you their family issues and what's going on. And, I love to listen. I'm just here not saying I have an answer for what's going on, but I'm a great listener. And so that was fun, and laughed in some of the cities. And So here we were always carrying our backpacks, and then one person said, "Oh, you can ship your backpack to the next town if you know where you're going." I was like, "What? Why did somebody not tell me that earlier?" So we actually got one time, when the last leg we did before
Okay.
we went home, I shipped my backpack and Walt's backpack ahead. So we were just having the best time.
Now, is that any sort of the hazing for the rookies? Just don't tell
Oh
them.
yeah, I think so. I was like, why did no one tell us? But yeah, it was just so cool. And like, oh, I got to meet this guy. Oh my goodness. He was 75 or 76 years old. He was from Germany, and he was an Olympian.
Okay.
This was his third time he had done the El Camino from
But he done the-
beginning to the end. What, 400 or 500
Yes, yeah.
miles. He was amazing, amazing to sit and talk. I journal. So I wrote his name down. I don't remember it now, and looked him up. I think I can't remember what, he was pole vaulting, or I can't remember, but he was from Germany. So it's just the coolest people that you meet.
Now, what are some of the folks, the young man who's interested in religions, Wilbur's, I believe you just said, the German Olympian. Is there, and like when people, everybody, you sort of pointed out that people know you're a pilgrim and from your shell or your walkings.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any sort of like greeting, the sort of a standardized greeting that everybody says, like, hey, how long you been walking, or walk well, or something?
They did. I honestly can't remember it now. But yeah, so I can't remember the greeting. I journaled it, but yeah, everyone says that. I mean, so much so. This is how everyone knows that you're a pilgrim. There's an area that you have that goes off the street. It's near Leon, not too far outside of Leon, and you have to meander off the road. And when you do, you go by this church. Well, while we were going, I was like, wow, look, there's a lot of people there. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I was like, okay. So we just started to walk by, and they were like, oh, pilgrims, come. And I'm looking at my husband going, should we come? And he's like, why not? They gave us food. It was a church gathering. Hardly anyone spoke English, but they were just handing us food and bread and water. They knew we were pilgrims. And I was like, oh, God.
Oh, how
That's so
fantastic.
cool. Yeah.
What the lessons the world could learn
Oh,
from
gosh, yeah.
some of these. Is along the way, thinking about that from this moment, people that don't know you, don't even speak your language, offer you food, you don't know really anything. Sometimes that can be unsettling for folks. Were there times on the pilgrimage that you were scared or anxious?
Never.
Never.
I never, I got up in the middle of the night one time and just wanted to walk outside and look at the stars. And it must have been 1 o'clock. And so my husband said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go look at the stars. He's like, okay. I mean, he didn't feel like I was, at risk at all. And, excuse me, I felt very, very safe.
Okay.
Yeah, very safe.
All right. Then there's an idea of I think the Wilburs you mentioned, is that sometimes people on the walk will exchange gifts with one another. Did you engage in any of that?
No, we didn't, but it was God's grace again. So after we had decided that we needed to come home, that we felt like God had spoken to us and we needed to come home, there would be another time to go back, and we will. So we said goodbye to the Wilburs, and it was really sad, and we hopped on a plane and came home, and so it was, we emailed, text, back and forth, but then Walt and I were going through a rough time again, not in our marriage, but where did God want us to go? It was just a bump in the road. And so out of the blue, about a week before Christmas, we get a package, and I was like, it's from the Wilburs. And so I opened it up, and it was their seashell, and it has their name on it. And that's probably one of the best gifts that someone could give you. They're giving you their badge that they earned, that they did the whole walk.
Okay.
They finished it. And so it just really made me cry, and it was just a reminder, one step at a time. I'm right behind you. So that was really cool. That was perfect timing too.
And of this, a significant reminder like that, you're saying that you and Walt were going through some things, and it's not marriage, but just for clarity, when you were together before, you were working, before the walk, y'all were working for 3 years as missionaries, correct? And then so that's part of your identity, both as a spiritual individual and then as a married couple, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that, and so then it's, yeah, that's an interesting sort of,
Well, yeah, I mean, because the whole walk is like, okay, God, we did what you wanted us to do. We gave everything away. We left our family. We went, and we just didn't understand because we were going to stay a lot longer. And so, you know, it's still a process. It's still one step at a time where you want us to go. What am I supposed to be doing? So.
and then missionary work outside the United States is something that's still a possibility. For
Oh
the two
yeah.
of you. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's why I'm here at school. That's why you're my teacher. Because I am trying to get back to there again, doing what God's asking me to do on this hard road.
Okay. And then of the hard road, would you, is it part of the plan that you guys, the two of you, might return to the Camino at some point? And
Next summer is our goal. To take we want to take 30 days because, Lord willing, I will either get into one of the programs here at school, whether it's, you know, surgical tech or nursing or whatever. And before you do that, everyone always says, take the summer off, you know, because you're not going to have a life after that. And so we
Sound
want
advice.
to do that. We want to go back.
will you pick up where you stopped before, or you go to
Absolutely.
Paris? And
No,
oh,
we're
okay.
going to go. We will fly back into Madrid and maybe go into Burgos because it's so beautiful, and then just take a train.
Okay.
Just take a train. Yeah,
All right.
I won't be walking the same stuff again. Not again.
One other, couple more questions I'd like to ask. First of all, is what advice would you give? So you went into London and bought stuff without knowing.
Yes.
What advice, like 3 things, if you
Oh,
had to
my
tell somebody
gosh.
3 crucial things before they went on this pilgrimage, what would you say to them?
Physically be ready. I mean, you need to do 6 months of walking before, because you have to remember, I lived in a country where women really didn't exercise, okay? So I was not physically fit, not that I am now, but I didn't exercise. So please exercise, and I plan on doing that. Absolutely get the advice of other people from blogs. Listen to what they said, because, you know, I wasn't in that listening stage at that moment. But they tell you about the socks and the shoes to take, and I would take a small backpack and not many clothes. I promise you that. And just, we spent more money on the care of our feet once we got the blisters. Just prep your feet beforehand, not after the fact.
Okay.
And you know, there's so many books out there. Oh, before that, look at the movie The Way. You gotta see the movie. Oh my goodness. And then there's books. There are actual books that you can buy that will give you a lot of help on where you want to stay. And the other thing that I didn't say is, once we got to Burgos, we got a local phone. We bought a local phone.
Okay, so like a local cell.
It's very important. So for whatever reason, if you need help or if you get hurt or something like that, you can call. And you have your little book with the little albergues numbers on there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You've already mentioned some things that you've learned from the trip, in a couple of different settings. There's some spiritual things that you mentioned. Like, how did the pilgrimage change you? And what have you carried? How have you carried that change from that walk into your life now, as everything, as a student, as a wife, as a mother, as a woman of faith?
I would have to say, I've always been big on prayer, of course. But my wedding ring says Psalms 46:10, "Be still and know that I'm in God." It's written in Hebrew. Bought it in Israel. And that probably came to life more than anything on the walk, was be still before anything, before making any decisions, before taking leaps. Be still, because when you're still, you can hear God's voice. And so I think that has taught me not to be so busy, and how important prayer life is. And about being materialistic. That's not who I am. And I can do without a lot of things. I don't have to have things to make me whole. And I used to think that. I used to think that diamonds and cars and big houses and boats and big trips would make me whole, and it's not. I know that it's God that makes me whole. And so it taught me, as I was shedding, my clothes and stuff on the walk, that it was just amazing what I could do without, and how much I wanted to give back to others.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned some reasons where people were on the walk that you met along the way, and many of them, and you listed some of the main ones: psychological stuff, spiritual things. Someone's going through a loss or that sort of thing. So you've got emotional, psychological, spiritual. You're on this walk with your husband. So what's that like to be in this moment, that you've described so articulately, but to have that experience? And then it's not in isolation, that you had that experience with the person you love.
I honestly, after 24 years of marriage, almost 25, something like that.
A minute or two.
I know. It's made us stronger as a unit. It really did. It solidified us a lot more than I thought we could be. I mean, because even though we've been married a while, we had both had previous marriages. We both brought, 2 boys each into the marriage, so we ended up with 4. So sometimes that can be hard when you have a blended family. And so, I know Iraq brought us closer together, and our prayer life closer together. And when you think you're going to die, it brings you closer together. But then when you're on that walk and you truly are broken, I mean, we were broken just beyond belief. And to see what God could do with those ashes, with us individually and as a married couple, is just amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, and you really, thank you for your candor and your honesty there, because other things about your marriage, divorce kind of thing. But then again, you were coming out of 3 years of being missionaries in Iraq, and which I would imagine probably brought you together as a couple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either going to do one of the two things. You guys are going to get really strong.
Yeah, because we were together 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
And so even in that, which I think all of us could recognize would be a tough position, then you had to sort of unfortunately leave that in a way that you're uncomfortable and unhappy about. So out of all those things that can draw a couple together, then this walk, you're feeling like even bound you tighter?
Yeah, because, I feel like the evil one can absolutely try to tear you apart. Because, it was my husband's student is the one who threatened us. And so, people are like, well, what did Walt do? He didn't do anything. You know what I mean? So that was just that seed of doubt. It's like, nope, sorry, get away, not going to happen. So, yeah, it just brought us closer.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
And that's, so much that any couple and family can learn from. Crisis so often creates drama. And I'm hearing you say that in these moments, it allowed for quiet time, reflection, prayer, and then the binding of a marriage in a fantastic way that most people are never going to be fortunate enough to experience.
Yeah, it just made the foundation stronger.
Superb. You have children, you'd mentioned. Did any of them mention any idea of like they would like to go when you return? If you go next year, would you take boys with you? Or?
You know what? I probably, 2 out of the 4 boys might. One is very adventurous, another one's more of a homebody. The 2 older ones married with kids, so that's kind of hard. So the 2 younger ones are still single, so who knows? Maybe.
Are they welcome on the trip with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because one of our sons even came to Iraq with us for a while. So, yeah, absolutely. I love my boys. I love hanging out with them. So, yeah.
Super. Anything else you'd like to say about your trip?
If you were thinking about it, go. I mean, it is a trip that you'll want to do again. And we will do it again. We'll finish it. So it'll be awesome.
Super. Sandra, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks.